In one way, yes, we want to be seen by others. We want people to appreciate what we do. We want people to like what we do. However, in order to truly do you, you have to let other people like and not like whatever they like and don't like. It's like you have to really release people. You have to release the world. That's part of the hesitation. We get inspired and then we immediately start thinking, what are other people going to think? The only reason we think that is because we're scared. And if you're scared and thinking that, you're going to imagine the worst case scenario. And so you're literally going to imagine all the worst things people could think, which will send you back into that place of hiding.
HeartBased.io. This is the podcast. It's for the heart-based solopreneur who wants to thrive in both life and business. On this show, I share my conversations with active or aspiring solopreneurs, and we explore the opportunity to gain clarity, get focused, and become profitable. Relax, settle in, and let's discover something beautiful on the inside of what we are, and then share that beauty with the world.
Today, I'm hanging out with Sara, and she's going to pronounce her last name here in a little bit because I'm going to fail miserably. But she's in Poland, and she applied to be on the podcast by filling out the application. And my goodness, did she fill out the application? You went deep, sharing all sorts of visions and plans and goals of something that you want to create for a very specific part of the human community. Those people we'll call light workers, helping them be themselves and do what they're here to do. A little bit similar to what I'm doing with HeartBased.io, but again, I see how it diverges quite a bit. And who knows if that's really what you're going to end up creating anyway. We're going to find out. But I want to take a moment and just welcome you to the show. Sara, thank you for being here, and introduce yourself a little bit, pronouncing your last name, and also sharing what it is that your vision entails.
Thank you so much for having me. First of all, I just love being here. It's amazing for me. Very exciting. I'm very nervous as well, but
that's fun.
Anyways, I'm Sara. As you said, I live in Poland. My last name is Kasprowicz, Sara Kasprowicz. That's Polish. And as you said, the vision keeps changing. I feel like the vision is much larger than I've been able to express on the website I sent or in the form. So the vision feels huge. It feels like a lot to carry. I've been trying to learn to speak about it in a shorter terms the last 2 weeks, I have to say. So what I'm trying to build is a professional community in truth. It's meant to support the global awakening community. I think mostly the kind of satsangish community that I've been part of a few of these recently. I just felt like it would be amazing if amazing awakening people would connect in the context of their work. It doesn't really happen too much. Like I feel like people, they connect for emotional support, they connect for just hanging out, but I haven't really found spaces where this productive vibe is merged together with the awakening vibe, with the really wanting to serve, really wanting to be there for the world. And co-working spaces I've always loved, productive spaces and spaces where things are created and people share what they're here to share, and to combine it with a space that's also really dedicated to however we can call it, truth, love, awakening, consciousness. It's just so exciting for me. I'm kind of lacking this kind of space, missing this opportunity. So I'm definitely one of the clients for myself in a way. And
you said something so important. So important. I'm the ideal client for this space, right? I'm building this for myself. That cannot be stressed how important that is. The work that you're engaged in, you're creating something that you love and that you benefit from, and then you get to share that with other people. And something you wrote on the application, that this is a project you've had for quite some time, and you've been trying to engage it for years now. And I'm curious as to what was it in the beginning and how has it evolved as far as your mission?
Yeah, I remember the very first name for it I came up with was Seed of Light. There's a few different names that it had along the way. And yeah, I even reached out to some people that I wanted to include and invite. And I just did the back to the shell movement afterwards. Yeah, I didn't define it so well back in the day, definitely, that I'm doing now. So
would it be accurate to say that in some way you just wanted to serve?
Definitely. And in some way it feels like, I don't really know what soul is, but I would say maybe in my soul or in my being that just wants to be born here. And that's what I would love to serve with.
Yeah. And for me, I find a great curiosity just as you express that. Like, okay, you have this vision. We understand you want to support people, but I don't understand, why is this so important to you?
That's a great question. And in a way, it feels like I don't really have a choice because this is something that just keeps popping up. And as much as I do other things or go somewhere else, it just keeps popping up as a very accurate expression of my isness, of my specific flavor of what I have to share. So it just feels like there is not much choice, actually. Like I can try to suppress it, which takes a lot of energy and is painful, or I can try to express it, which also is, going through a lot of
it's
pain.
Painful in both directions.
Exactly. So but this direction is exciting. It's not depressing. It's not, it's not all the other things. So I guess I'm choosing this direction, as difficult as it is, because it is.
And how would you help me understand the difficulty you've experienced over the years?
Yeah, it's really challenging to be seen. It's like there's such a strong fear of being seen in something that's not ready or in something that's not great or not perfect, I would say. And it's not that I'm consciously trying to do this to myself, but it's just so strong. Somehow it feels so excruciating even. I would even say excruciating to put my truest offering, my offering out there for people to see. And okay, here I am, and here is what I'm offering. And this is just because it felt right. It's just because that's really truly mine. And it's not, it's not anything that someone else asked me to do. It's like I don't have an external permission to do it. This is just my inner movement that wants to be accomplished. And somehow there is this belief deep in my system that I don't have the right to be here, I would say. I've been contemplating this a lot recently, and I think that's probably the most accurate thing, that it's just fear of being seen. And yeah, I really loved what you shared during an event recently, because there was this event for solopreneurs, and you said something around that sharing is just daring to be who you are, or something like this. I don't remember the exact words. That's exactly how I feel. I was so touched by it. I was just disarmed temporarily.
Yeah.
By hearing that.
In one way, yes, we want to be seen by others. It's like a super cute human thing. We want people to appreciate what we do. We want people to like what we do. However, in order to truly do you have to let other people like and not like whatever they like and don't like. It's like you have to really release people. You have to release the world. We get inspired, and then we immediately start thinking, what are other people going to think? The only reason we think that is because we're scared. And if you're scared and thinking that, you're going to imagine the worst case scenario. And so you're literally going to imagine all the worst things people could think, which will send you back into that place of hiding. It's a complete futile strategy to be concerned about what other people think. And what that does for me is I realize, oh, wow, this isn't about other people. This isn't about people approving of what I'm doing. What this is fundamentally about is me seeing me. It's allowing the authenticity of my human experience that is genuinely here to explore something. There's a natural interest. And as I explore that interest, there's a natural sharing that happens. And I think that this might be a point of confusion or something that we can clarify that can bring a bit of relaxation. This isn't so much my offering. This is my exploration. I'm approaching this in a way of sharing what I'm excited about. And maybe you're excited about it too. And if not, no worries. But if what I'm excited about is something that you're excited about, then you can come into my special little club, learn more about what I'm excited about. Because when you do turn it into this sort of offering from a fearful perspective, which is understandable, we just get super scared about it not being right, not being good enough, and all of that. Again, I think there's so much more fun in just sharing what you're exploring. In the spirit of that, rather than seeing that this is a product, tell me what it is that you're exploring.
I love that approach, by the way. It just really resonates a lot with actually defining the clients that I want to work with. That's been a great shift recently as well. But what do I want to explore? I actually really want to explore what happens when great beings come together in the context of their work. And
wait, hold on. Do you realize how clear that was?
I guess it was. Yeah, it's very true, very real.
And it just kind of just flowed out of you. It's like you see this potential of something. Like, I'm super curious about what would happen if a particular type of person came together that was passionate about something, and we all focused that energy. And what could we create, like, on our own, but together? That sounds amazing.
Exactly. That's exactly what it is. That's exactly what it is.
Okay. Now here's the dilemma. Like, when I went through your application and I looked at your website, my immediate insight was this isn't focused. Okay. So yes, we've niched down a little bit to light workers, but I think we can go much further than that, at least in the beginning stages. And as you understand what you're exploring, it's like, okay, if I'm going to explore this, what is the type of person that I want to explore this with? What are their interests? What are their passions? What are they wanting to share with the world? And get specific, and then go find those people rather than being broad as light worker. Like, again, if we're just starting at the beginning, who's the one person that you want to explore this with?
Yeah, that's a great exploration. Thanks for that. Yeah, I was being with defining the client recently quite a bit, and I can imagine a lot of people I know that would definitely be a wonderful fit to be part of this exploration. And I wrote down a few names of people I know, and like, what do they have in common? Like, what is it? And they have different interests, different lifestyles, maybe, some similar, some different. But what's the common denominator was they're really dedicated to truth or to awakening, and they're part of the satsang community. They usually have been close to a spiritual teacher, or a few of them, but that's I don't want to close the door to people who have not been close to spiritual teacher, but they have just explored on their own, because that's totally valid. That dedication to truth in everything they're doing, and I think that's relatively rare. Yeah, I would honestly welcome anyone who is this way.
Okay, so here's my recommendation. You have this vision, which is a massive community that supports each other. And I'm going to say that that's 5 to 10 years out. What I would focus on, finding very small groups of people, 3 to 5, and then doing 7 to 14 day experiments as it relates to coming together. It's like on your application, you mentioned, like, you had a list of these services, right? And so what if we just picked one of those services and did experiments with that one? For example, like the online co-working space, where it's like we're just online together, but we're not talking, we're working, but we know that we're online. And then we check in, every 90 minutes or whatever. Everyone shares for 5 minutes, whatever they're doing, what the struggle is, and why I'm going to refocus right now. And then we go for another 90 minutes. Do that for 7 days or 14 days. And then you write a report, right? Because this is your exploration, and you're sharing the results of this exploration with a wider community. Like, what happens if we do this together as a small group? I would imagine that's one way you're going to find other people who are interested in your explorations. And then not only that, as you do these tiny experiments, you're going to find out what works and what doesn't work. What are the hangups? What are people's challenges? What's the obstacle? How can we make it better? And then what you're doing is you're refining a single service. And I'm willing to bet that as you master that, you could create a business offering that supports you just on that one product. Like, you don't necessarily need this big thing, because I would imagine, again, one of your primary objectives is, how can I support myself as fast as possible? Like, how can I do this offering so that I create enough money so I don't have to worry about money, so that I can focus even more?
I'm not really in a hurry with the financial aspect, which is amazing, actually. Relaxing, but it would be great actually to make a living this way. By the way, I love the idea to try to make it more focused and to make it one thing at a time, because I know in the application everything was written out. It was only yesterday that I sent you the website, and it probably wasn't very clear and it wasn't too much time, but my aim to narrow it down and to make it one thing. Because what I did there on the website is just, okay, a month, and there are 3 different meetings, and that's just a month of co-working, networking, a little bit more complex than what you've been suggesting. Yeah, it's already a narrowing down, but yeah.
And also in your application, you mentioned establishing a minimum viable product, which I love to see, by the way. That was awesome. What I would do is I would take the brand that you're building and make it solely focused on that MVP, which is maybe the online co-work experiment. This is the function of this company or this experiment. We're just doing this. And having that be your sole focus, what I would anticipate is that people who visit your website, they get a clear answer as to, this is for me or it's not, right? It's a solid yes or a solid no. Because if you go to the website and there's lots of different things, like many things that you don't yet offer, many things that are in development, it's like, some of it yes, some of it no. But if you have one clear thing, this is what we're doing, then you'll get probably a higher degree of commitment from people. And then in addition to that, with what I would do, I would have people apply to be a part of this experiment that's free. And then I would have that lead to an offer to keep going for a monthly amount. Here's the way that I approach this. And let's just say, for example, we get 5 people to be a part of this experiment. And as you develop it, as it gets better, it's going to become more valuable. And people are going to realize, holy shit, I was so much more productive. I got so much more done. Do you see the value there? And so the question becomes, how valuable is that? So you have like this single funnel where people apply for this free experiment. It leads into a potential invitation to join the ongoing thing. And it's just going to be the people who are deeply committed to do it. Then you slowly build some sort of reoccurring process. And I would imagine also this could be relatively automated, because again, as you do these experiments, you're going to automate the process, right? It's the same thing over and over and over again. And so you won't need to be as involved in each meeting. You just set up the system that helps people connect for this one thing. And then you just build different groups. And then as it gets larger, maybe you come together and you do, a bigger group.
Yeah, I feel there are parts of me that are responding differently. So a part of me is saying, yes, of course, we need something simple and clear for people. Another part is, I thought I did that on the website. That's just what I'm trying to invite people to on the website, is to apply to join a month of meetings for free. After some time, there would be a paid offering that they could join, but that's now just an experiment, and whoever wants to join for free. I think the only difference to what you're saying is that I saw 3 different types of meetings so that they can kind of tune into the process that I've envisioned, and it's still just maybe 10% of what I can see for We Light Work in the long run. Do you think that would make sense, or is it too much to have just a month to commit to of weekly meetings?
I would start less than that. I would focus on 14 days. I mean, personally, it's easier to commit to. As it relates to what you're currently showing on your website, what I would like to see this be about is speaking more to the pain, not being able to focus, more to the pain of not feeling supported. I see lots of beautiful things, but what's going to drive people to sign up is getting them to acknowledge how much they're struggling. And then you're providing a playful exploration out of that struggle. And I actually like the way that I just said that. Like, not necessarily a solution, but here's something that I'm exploring that seems to be working really well and is a lot of fun. Maybe you're a good fit to try.
Playful exploration. Yeah, I definitely like that, because I don't know if I have solutions. I may not have any solutions, right? I just want to explore playfully, emphasizing the pains more. That definitely makes sense, because I think part of what I've done is because I just don't really know what's going to happen. So it's challenging to really describe it super well, because that's an exploration. But I guess I can tune into the pains that are common for the people that I know and for the people that I see as members. Yeah,
and here's something else that I would recommend doing. Because this is your exploration, part of that exploration is doing research. And what's going to be fantastic research is connecting with other people in that target niche and asking them if you could talk about their struggle with XYZ, right? Like their struggle with trying to launch their program, their struggle with being focused, all those types of things. And in doing this, you're going to gain a deeper understanding of what the pain is, and then also how they articulate it, like the language they use. And then the language that they use is the same language that's going to be on your website.
Right, that makes a lot of sense. I did some interviews, something similar a few years ago, maybe 2 or 3 years ago, and it was insightful because I've learned some things and based some of this on that, but there is definitely more to learn, because I'm just really assuming that they have difficulties at all, and if what kind of difficulties. And
and I think assuming we know is a disaster. Assuming we know is a disaster. But when you hear it from their mouth, when you connect with them emotionally, and there's that like sense of honesty about their struggle, it's such a similar struggle that everyone else is having. And then we can just take those words and put it on the website. And then also you get clarity about the problem you're going to solve. And that's going to completely change your approach and be prepared for when those struggles come up. Now, here's my other question. You've mentioned exploring this for the past couple of years. Why is this different? Why are we not just wasting our time right now and then you reapproach this 2 years later? Why do you feel like this is actually the time?
I hope that's the time. That's
okay. We got to move past the hope.
That's an amazing question. I feel like I have more connection to that excruciating pain in myself, excruciating place in myself that really doesn't want to do it and really doesn't want to be out there. So I feel like I'm more ready to, in a way, let it die. I mean, I use the word die, but I mean it in a very good way. Just kind of transcend itself. I feel like there is a different sense of urgency and readiness, even though I have no clue if that's really the case and what's going to happen. But I would really love for it to actually finally happen. It's quite similar. I mean, I really hope it's different, but it is similar, unfortunately, because anytime I try to do that, I do have help. People are showing up, and I truly hope it happens this time. It's really,
Okay, and what you just described in some way tells me very clearly that what you're building is for you, because you're recognizing this frustration with delaying this project, and you would really like to build a support network to help you do what you're here to do.
Definitely.
And you beautifully described the pain. I would build the exploration on top of that pain and then communicate that pain to other people. Here's what I'm deeply curious about, and here's why. Because I'm struggling.
Yeah, I think that has to be part of it.
That has to be part of it.
Just being not the example, but maybe the example of the client zero.
Yeah. And this is going to do something that I find in my own experience, which is it's going to attract to you authentic human beings, which are also going to be the type of people that you want to work with. this is pretty fundamental when we recognize that there's this desire to connect with other authentic humans. There's a demand that we first be that authentic human, because if we don't, then we're just going to attract those who don't.
We're going to hang out pretending together. Amazing.
Exactly. Yeah, we'll build our little spiritual community where everyone pretends to be spiritual. But yeah, but I can totally hear that sincerity in your voice. You're kind of exhausted with the pretending and you want to just get to something real and you want to do real work.
In a way, it's easier for me to just share my process because that's me almost doing it. Like I can, keep on sharing how I'm almost doing something. And I've also done it, but I really love the idea of really being open with my struggles. And in a way that's easier for me, but maybe that's good. But then I can use it not to actually do it as well. I can use getting ready, preparing.
Well, yeah. And then also you're going to be posting these things on social media and you're just documenting your experience. From the standpoint of, I'm not trying to be the professional that has the answer. I'm just deeply curious about this problem. And as I share it, I wonder if it resonates with you. I wonder if you have the same problem. And then if you do, maybe we can come together and do something awesome.
Yeah, that's amazing. Yeah, just share the problems that I have. And they're probably very common, right? Because we are very similar.
Absolutely. Yeah. So based on that, do you see a new vision for your website and how you communicate the invitation?
It's definitely getting more clear on the pain points of, definitely my pain points are their pain points, but also talking to people and getting clear on some of the words they're using and using the same words to describe pain points. Yeah, I would still have to see how can I narrow it down more. Let's say if I'm only doing co-working, that this wouldn't actually be the exploration that I'm after. So probably I would need to make it even more simple than it's on the website right now, but also that it feels like a true exploration for me. That it feels like it is a little bit of what I would like to offer. I'm not fully clear on how could that look like yet, but yeah, so that it's just abundantly clear. You go to the website and you see the thing that is there and you see if it's for you or not. Yeah, that would be very helpful if that's like that.
Yeah, like for example, what you have here where it says, what is We Light Work membership? You mentioned an online group experience harnessing the power of community and truth, of sharing experiential wisdom, insight, motivation. What I would do is playfully, in a way, communicate that this is an opportunity to solve XYZ problem. You see what I mean? Just like very directly. First, you identify what that problem is by looking at your own experience because you're building it for you. And then you talk to other people, understand what their problem is, and you're going to find a very specific commonality. It's like, oh, it's this. It's like, okay, this group is all about solving this problem so that we can achieve XYZ. And then your whole thing is just built on that fundamental thing.
It makes a lot of sense. And also, I guess I just really like, building these words in writing. I'm better in writing than in speaking, but I just love expressing what I feel it's going to be in words, in beautiful words, like I did. Yeah, just it's probably much more relatable to people if I'm really communicating the pain points much more than the poetry around it.
And I so feel you on that because I get so lost in the poetry of it. And as beautiful as it is, the poetry isn't what gets people to make a decision. People don't make decisions from that place. They make decisions from pain. And so if we can expose the pain where they can resonate with it and identify with it, and it's going to hurt, and then we show a potential solution, that's going to put them over the edge. But if it's, fluffy and beautiful, we'll just look at it and say, gosh, that's sweet.
Yeah, I totally agree. People probably do that. And I probably do that as well, even though I would need both. Just some pain points solved as well as some poetry around it, just a little bit.
Yes. Don't exclude it totally. Poetry. Just start with the pain.
Yeah, and I've also been curious about exploring, inviting people who are doing really well as well to be part of this community. So maybe that's for later. But I'm seeing people who are struggling and people who are doing super well, so that they can do even better. Yeah, it's maybe difficult for it to merge in the beginning. Maybe that's a later stage that I'll be focusing on.
And I see that you're also set up to receive emails for a newsletter. Is that something that you've done before or explored at all, or is that brand new?
Oh, right. I haven't done it before. I have never done it, but I would like to do it.
Yeah. How do you feel about doing that?
About asking itself, or about the newsletter?
About writing a newsletter. Like, do you have any focus there?
I haven't started yet thinking about it. That's probably quite a bit of work, and yeah, I'm curious. Actually, I can only find out how I'll be feeling about it. It could be something very short, or it could be a newsletter with some video content, for example, or audio content. I guess if you want to write something really proper and long, like you're doing right now, you need to put some work into it. So I can imagine that somewhere along the way, I'm feeling like, oh, I'm doing so much work for free, and maybe that's not so much coming back from it. That's what I can imagine could come up, but it could also be very short.
And that's fine. And I so understand that space. And the way that I tackle that is 80% of the content I create is all free content. And then 20% is paid content. The way that I'm able to do that is that my 20% isn't cheap. I'm able to create products, services, and opportunities for people who can afford them. And in a beautiful way, they pay for me to create free content.
Mm-hmm. That's so beautiful.
Right? It is beautiful.
Yeah.
And it's fun communicating that too with the people I work with. It's like, because they've enjoyed my free content for a long time and they feel good about, paying up now and going a little bit more deeply. But to communicate that, it's like, well, why are the prices what they are? Look at how much free content the world gets. Right? That's why. Yeah, that's part of it. And that's why I think it's so important to charge accordingly and to not be afraid of asking for money so that you can keep doing the thing that you love doing. Because here's the thing, if you just waited to get paid, you wouldn't create much content. Like in the beginning, when I was doing Satsong, I can't even tell you how many free sessions I did, like so many. And even I'd fly around the country and sit with 2 people, right, to do Satsong. But the point of it is, like, this is what I love to do. Even though I'm doing it for free, I'm getting better at it. What was technically free was me investing in myself. And that's a beautiful way to interpret it, rather than interpreting it as other people should be paying or other people are taking advantage. It's like, no, this is my education. You're helping me get better at what I'm doing by giving me feedback. And so there's an exchange there. And then also, as you create lots of free content, that's what grows your audience as well.
Yeah, that's definitely ahead as well, to create a good amount. I mean, just to keep creating content for people to engage in. Yeah, maybe not initially. Would you suggest starting with just creating a lot of content for people to, maybe that's a good idea, for people to connect with what I'm even about, right?
Yeah, I would approach this thing like, from right now, especially because you're not under financial stress, I would remove the initial goal of making money and just do radical research. But in your research, you're creating content. You're sharing what you're learning, the problems you're encountering. You're sharing about the conversations you have with people. You're sharing about why this is exciting to you. And that's going to build momentum. And this takes time.
Yeah.
It takes time. But the key to it is just being consistent.
Yeah, I think that for me, definitely that's the key. And for me, the key is to keep committing to that decision that I'm doing it, because I can create, a few posts and then I'm like, okay, maybe I'm just coming back to my little shell. I'm just wondering how can I make sure it doesn't happen again?
Yeah. We still need to circle back to that.
Yeah, it's still on the table. Yeah, I guess when when I'm committing to something, like I've committed to, speaking with you today, and it made me create the whole website that I created, and made me really rethink the whole thing. Not perfect, but that's super, super valuable to have that motivation, that commitment. And that's actually what I want to offer people as well, the commitment, so that they have, let's say, a accountability body that they commit to doing, however much progress in their project.
Well, that's also, I mean, from a business standpoint, that's the service that I provide, is for those people who are ready to commit. Like, I'm giving free content, and it's super helpful. But then there's people who, just like what you said, it's like, gosh, I really got to commit. And you know what the best way to commit is? Pay a lot of money for something.
That's also true. That's also very true.
Yeah, it's like saying, okay, it's time. I'm all in. Let's go. And it's really fascinating. And that was my own experience. Some time ago, I was really struggling and trying to understand the business aspect of what I'm doing. And I spent years trying to do it on my own. And I ran a unrelated business before I started doing this that was relatively successful. But then switching over to this, what the hell? I couldn't get it to work. And I got so frustrated, so in pain, that I reached out for help. And someone offered to help me, someone that I really resonated with, because he didn't bullshit me. He told me things I didn't want to hear, but I was like, you're right. Told me how much it was. And I said, you're fucking crazy. And then after thinking about it, it was like, you know what? You're absolutely right. So I jumped in, and it absolutely transformed my experience. I showed up like I never showed up before, quadrupled my income in like 60 days. It absolutely blew my mind. And I'm like, okay, now I get it. It's like we have to get out of our own way, really show up. And part of that showing up is making commitments. And if people aren't in a situation to make larger financial commitments, then you make other forms of commitments. You find people to build those commitments with, which is kind of like the space that you're creating.
Yeah, I think that's a great, paying for something is definitely a great way to commit. And also having a bunch of people scheduled for, a monthly membership, that's a commitment, because if I already have these people sign up, then I just have to do it.
That might be something to explore, is what kind of commitments can I make for myself that force me to grow?
I think that's amazing. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I've started connecting more with just friends that are also interested in, we actually do very tiny versions, like 1-on-1 or 2-on-1 versions of this, and we commit to showing something more in 2 weeks, showing something more, and that's really helpful. And I want to offer it to more people, because that's really helpful.
Exactly. See,
that's already an experiment going on. Actually, it is.
That's the whole foundation of being a solopreneur. You discover something that's helpful for your own experience, and then you can share that same help with other people. And if it's valuable enough, which through your own experience, then there's a way of making it valuable for other people. And actually, that brings me to another point that I wanted to address from your application. You said it's a challenge to fully and firmly stand behind something that's deeply and truly mine, that has not yet been validated elsewhere. Can you speak more to that and help me understand what you mean?
Yes, it feels like it goes to this core of, I'm not allowed to be here as I am. What I'm offering has not been validated by anyone outside of me. So it wasn't invited by anyone. It wasn't approved before it goes out. It's just something I want to share. And there is just this deep fear that this is just completely inadequate, that I'm just going to go to people and they will all just absolutely be sure that I shouldn't be here and I'm inadequate. And like, what am I even thinking, trying to do something like this? Who am I, taking myself to be? And I know that's not true. It's probably not going to happen, even though it could in some cases, I guess. And I know that's not very possible, but it's still there.
So let me ask you, when you sit with that, what arises as the way through that? What's the solution?
I keep loving through that as much as I can. And it keeps, coming back, which is fine. And also it brings up so much stress in my system. I feel this whole fear of not being perfect, of not being valid in a way, of being where I'm not invited.
Do you see how what you're saying is, I'm not sure if this has value?
Yes. There's
Right?
a deep doubt. If I'm just making this whole thing up, if it's totally, obvious to everyone else that this is garbage.
Okay. And so here's the solution. You go find out if it has value.
Yes.
Right? Because you're not going to be able to spiritualize it and have an idea that it's a good idea and it might be valuable. You really need to find out for yourself. This is often where people get hung up because they're so scared of it not working. Like what you said, what are people going to think? But this brings us back to the reality that this is a deep curiosity of yours. Is this valuable? It's a research project. I have a beautiful idea that seems like it could be valuable because it's something I crave for. I'm going to go explore it. I'm going to do these experiments, and I'm going to find out for myself if it's valuable. And then as I do that, it'll include other people, and I'll find out if it's valuable for them.
I think that's amazing. As an exploration, just to present it as an exploration.
And then as you're doing that, you're also getting feedback from other people in the form of testimonials, in the form of ideas. They're going to help you. That's totally going to give you confidence.
Yes, it has happened already. That's why I'm like, everyone I present this to, they are super excited about it. They like it. They want to help. They want to listen to me. They want to advise. Somehow there's so much help and feedback as well with these little experiments I did some years ago. Maybe that's maybe that's enough to make me do it this time. I really hope so.
Well, here's what I recommend also doing is creating a database for that feedback. And then you have a very strategic system of getting feedback from everyone who comes through your trial experience. Because this is framed as a research project, you're going to need their feedback. That's addressed going into it. Like, okay, here's what we're going to do. And then I'm going to need your feedback. And if you really love it, I'm going to ask you to create a testimonial so that we can continue to grow, and then have a database where, you're copying and pasting what they write, you're saving their videos. And then when you're having a really down day and wondering if there's value, you go back and look at your database and you're like, oh, I'm just being silly. There's value here.
Yes, that's amazing. Yeah, I've definitely been meaning to collect feedback, and it's super important to do it, to collect feedback. Yeah.
As much as this is a research project, but it's a business research project. And as with any research project, if it's really a research project, then you have good notes. You have good systems for feedback. Maybe that's something that you might want to consider is you have a clear vision of the project. And then what I would do is I'd make a list of what do I need to do for this project to be successful? Like, what kind of systems do I need? Like, okay, I need a newsletter. I need a feedback form. So like after they're done, everyone just gets the same feedback form. There's a million different things you can come up with, but just explore that and see what could I do to make this as awesome as possible. And I think also as you have a system, as you become more clear about what you're doing, it's going to make it easier to continue.
Oh, absolutely. With clarity, with some confirmation that this is doing something, actually, that this is working for people, and maybe for some it's not working. That's fine, but that it's working at all.
That will totally be the case. Some people will say this is dumb. And what's great about that is that shows you the type of person that's not a good fit for the program. And the people it does work, it gets you closer to your ideal client.
Yeah, exactly. I love the ideal client approach, by the way. Really, really do. Yeah. And I was trying to base this whole website design. I don't know if you had a chance to click on yes, sign me up, because there is a whole very nice form coming up.
I saw the form.
I actually kind of screening.
I just didn't go through the form, but I saw the form.
Yeah, and there are some questions that are actually telling me if that person would be a good fit or not. There are some questions that like the people apply to join rather than are just automatically joining. It can feel little bit closed off. Like, I don't know what's your feeling about this, because I know you're also into working with people you want to work with, and I've just realized recently that I also want to work with people I want to work with, and that I really do. It's I really do. So instead of just going out and please everyone, just sign up anyone, just really focusing on narrowing down the target market, so to speak. I love that.
And then here's a trap that I don't want you to fall into, which is you build a website, you create a form, and then you wait. You
No.
wait for people to find you.
No.
Don't do that. Be incredibly proactive, going out and finding those people who you want to fill out the form, and then ask them directly. Or at least ask them, are you open to hear about the project I'm doing that's solving XYZ problem?
I've been thinking, how would I reach out? Because I know so many people that would be a great fit, and I've been feeling into how do I reach out. And what came up was, you're one of the people I really see that I'm doing this for. Would you like to hear more? So something like this, that I really feel like I'm doing it for them. Whether the specific person joins or not, maybe 100 similar people, but somehow communicating in this way.
Yeah, I would also throw in the communicating some aspect of the pain point. Again, when you communicate what you're creating in the message, communicate the problem and the solution. There's something magical that happens when people see their problem, because we carry that shit with us everywhere and we're constantly thinking about it. And so when somebody puts it in our face, it's like, oh shit, that's me. And that piques my interest a little bit more.
Yeah, someone sees me in that and is able to, willing to embrace me in that and be with me in that. Yeah.
This speaks to identifying your core message. And this is something you're getting closer and closer to defining. You're going to come up with one or two sentences that clearly define what the problem is, what's the solution, and what's your container. As you share that core message, it's just going to ring true for the right people. And then as you directly connect with people, you're going to ask them, do you know anybody else that might be struggling with XYZ problem? And you'll be surprised at how helpful people might be at giving you referrals.
Yeah. I've came up with so many of these like one-liners or one sentence trying to describe. I feel like I'm so much closer than ever, but there is still work to do. I thought because it's something like be in service for a living. Quite like it. I don't know if it makes sense for you. It's probably still needs refining, but being in service for a living, that sounds
yeah, but it doesn't tell me who it's for, and it doesn't tell me the problem. There's the opposite of being in service, and I can understand that people feel like they're not being of service, but I also think that there's a ways to go in nailing down the language so it's just more clear. Let me put it this way. For the work that I'm doing with solopreneurs, I say something to the effect of helping struggling heart-based solopreneurs gain clarity, get focused, and become profitable. Who am I working with? Well, heart-based solopreneurs, but not just all heart-based solopreneurs, struggling ones. And then what's the solution? Gain clarity, get focused, become profitable, which also exposes the pain. No clarity, you're not focused, and you're not profitable. When I reach out to people and tell them what I'm doing, there's an immediate yes or no. Like, oh, I'm not that person. Or, oh, shit, that's totally me. And so play with that with regards to, if I could only use one sentence, how can I communicate who I'm looking to serve, what's the problem, and what's the solution? Those three criteria in one sentence. And then what will happen is what you've already experienced, which is you will come up with something, and then you'll find something better, and then you'll find something better, and on and on and on.
Yes, that's a great process, and I totally agree. And because there's this in service for a living, and also, I mean, the mission line I came up with was something around awakening people, lead fulfilling professional lives aligned with truth or something like this, but there is no pain point there. It's just kind of a general well-being statement of fulfilling professional life. That's no pain point.
It could be like helping those who are stuck in XYZ become XYZ. I don't know. You'll figure it out though.
Yeah.
Any lingering questions before we wrap up?
I don't see any, so I guess not.
No, I think you're off to a great start, and I think there's a lot more clarity now. And I'm excited to see how the messaging changes a little bit to really hit the pain and inspire people to make a decision.
Yeah, I would love for that to happen. And awesome. Thank you so much for having me here, for accepting my humble application to join you and to talk to you. It's awesome. I
for sure
just love what I feel from you, from your presence. So good to be here.
And is there a website that you want to share with people, or are you holding off on that?
I guess by the time anyone's watching it, the website may be just ready. So it's going to be welightwork.org or welight.work. I'm still
so one of those two.
Hesitating. Yeah, probably both. I actually got both already. So welightwork.org.
What I would recommend as soon as possible, at least putting up a landing page that just says what you're doing, like one paragraph with an email form that says stay updated. Just something like that, rather than having no website. Just put up, it's called a splash page, where it's just a brief sentence and then an opportunity to stay updated. And that way, if it's not up on time, then when people do watch this and they want to follow your journey, then they can at least go there and find out when it's live in their email.
Yes, and they can say they're interested in this way. Yeah, definitely. That's going to be in place no matter what. Maybe, I've created this whole very long page, which I'm going to have to probably shorten. And it's going to be some version of that, probably better than it is now, with all your, amazing suggestions. So,
and that's something I'm always doing. I'm always rewriting content, and because I get ideas to make it more clear, and I'm just such a huge fan of that.
That's also great to know, because I've been looking at your website, HeartBased.io, for a few times, and I was noticing it's changing. So I was like, oh, okay, that's great. So people do that as well. It's not that I want to keep for everything to keep evolving, because that feels natural, right? Because it's just going to keep changing. If
I waited until I knew 100%, I'd never get started.
Yeah.
And so you just put up whatever's clear for you now, and then let it evolve.
Yeah, I tried with this version, but that's what I'm going to do. Just put something up.
Great. Well, thank you for showing up here and doing this with me and helping me create free content for everyone. That's awesome.
Oh, thanks so much. Such a pleasure. And I love your offering. Probably love your community. I haven't met them, but possibly great people. Thanks so much for having me.
Thanks, Sara.
You've been listening to the HeartBased.io Solopreneur podcast. For show highlights, notes, and more, visit us online at HeartBased.io. While you're there, be sure to sign up for my weekly email, the Sunday Letter to Solopreneurs, and download my free guide for new or struggling heart-based solopreneurs, helping you understand why and how it's possible to love on others and get paid well for it in the process.